I was deep in the Nevada desert, alone on the highway, when I saw them. 3 identical black SUVs. They moved in perfect unison, single file, just ahead of me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Cars travel in groups all the time. But as I got closer, something struck me as odd. Each SUV had a Nevada license plate. But instead of a standard sequence, the first SUV's plate read 1. The second, 2. The third, 3. Nothing else. No letters, no other numbers. Just 1, 2, 3. Something about it made my skin crawl. I followed them for miles, my curiosity outweighing my better judgment. The desert stretched endlessly on both sides of the road, a vast, empty nothingness under the cold glow of the moon. The highway was straight, no turns, no exits for miles. The SUVs never changed lanes, never passed one another, just drove. I kept my distance, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they knew I was there, that they were letting me follow. Then, without warning, they slowed down, not abruptly, deliberately. Their brake lights flared as they approached something I hadn't noticed before. A dirt road. There were no signs, no mile markers. I had driven this route dozens of times, and I had never seen a road here. It wasn't on my GPS, but they knew it was there. One by one, the SUVs turned onto the dirt path. First 1, then 2, then 3. As soon as their tires hit the dirt, their headlights turned off. I stared into the blackness, expecting to see their taillights retreating into the distance. But there was nothing, like they had been swallowed by the desert. I checked my mirrors. The highway was empty, not a single pair of headlights behind me, just an endless stretch of road. My instincts screamed at me to keep driving, but something held me there, a deep, gnawing sense of wrongness. I pulled onto the shoulder, killing the engine. For a long moment, I just sat there, staring into the darkness where the SUVs had disappeared. Then, against every instinct, I rolled down my window. The desert was silent. No wind, no insects, just a deep, unnatural stillness. Then, I felt it, a low vibration, not from the ground, from the air. A deep, mechanical hum, barely audible, like something massive shifting underground. It was coming from that dirt road. My hands clenched around the steering wheel. I needed to go. Now. I threw the truck into gear and peeled back onto the highway, my tires skidding against the pavement. I checked my mirrors again. Still nothing. No headlights. No sign that the SUVs had ever been there. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had seen me, that I had gotten too close. I didn't stop driving until the sun rose over the desert. My body ached from exhaustion, my nerves frayed, but I was too wired to sleep. I stopped at a truck stop just outside Reno, stumbling inside for coffee. A few other drivers were gathered around a table, swapping road stories. I was about to mind my own business, until I heard one of them say, "Those black SUVs. You ever see him?" My heart stopped. I turned, gripping my coffee. "Black SUVs?" I asked, my voice hoarse. The trucker, a grizzled old guy with a weathered face, nodded. "They show up on back roads, highways near bases, always in threes." He stirred his coffee, his voice dropping lower. "They turn off onto dirt roads that ain't supposed to be there. And then, they're gone." I swallowed hard. I wanted to tell him what I'd seen, but something stopped me. Some deep, instinctual part of me didn't want to know more. I finished my coffee in silence, paid my tab, and as I walked back to my truck, I glanced at my windshield. There, tucked under the wiper, was a red envelope. I froze. My hands went cold. I glanced around the lot. No one was near my truck. No one had been near my truck. But the envelope was there, waiting for me. I reached for it with shaking fingers. The paper was smooth, clean. I peeled it open, my breath catching in my throat. Inside was a single note, written in small, precise handwriting. "You saw too much." I left that truck stop immediately. Didn't look back. Didn't sleep for 2 days. The envelope was gone by the time I stopped again. I don't know who took it, or what it meant. But now, every time I drive through Nevada, I keep my eyes on the highway. I don't look for dirt roads. And if I ever see 3 black SUVs again, I won't follow them. Because whatever they're doing out there, It's not meant to be seen, and next time, they won't let me leave. I saw the man sitting in the middle of the road just past 3 a.m. At first, I thought it was roadkill, just another shape in the darkness, something I'd pass by without a second thought. But as my headlights swept forward, I saw the details. A man, sitting cross-legged in the dead center of the highway. His hood was up, head tilted downward, hands resting on his knees, not moving, not reacting to the sound of my truck roaring toward him, just sitting there, waiting. Every instinct screamed at me to keep going, to pass by, but I had already started slowing down. The highway was empty, no cars ahead, no headlights behind me, just an endless stretch of road cutting through the trees. I leaned on the horn, a long, blaring blast. He didn't flinch, didn't even turn his head. The hairs on my arms stood up. Something about him felt wrong. I flicked my high beams. No reaction. At this point, I was too close to stop safely. I swerved into the other lane, narrowly avoiding him. And as I passed, I caught a glimpse of his hands. They were covered in something dark. My stomach twisted. I checked my side mirror. The man was still sitting there, still motionless. And then, a second figure stepped out of the trees, just beyond the reach of my taillights. Then a third, a fourth, all standing at the edge of the woods, watching. Too many, all facing the road, all facing me. My hands tightened around the wheel. This wasn't normal. This wasn't some drunk or stranded hitchhiker. This was something else, something that wasn't meant to be seen. I pressed the gas, put as much distance between me and whatever the hell that was. But then, a loud thud from the back of my truck, like something had jumped onto the trailer. I checked my side mirrors. Nothing. The road behind me was empty, but I knew what I heard. Something was back there, moving. I grabbed the CB radio, trying to steady my breath. This is Big Rig 404. Anyone near Route 22? I think I got something on my truck. Silence. Then, static. A voice crackled through. Don't stop. A chill ran down my spine. I gripped the receiver. Who is this? The static hissed. Then, through the interference, laughter. Low. Wrong. Like someone was pretending to be human. I shut the radio off. My fingers were shaking. The truck felt heavier, like something was shifting in the trailer. I needed to check. Needed to know. I turned the interior cargo lights on, checked the mirror, and I saw it. A shadow. Something big, moving inside. I swallowed hard, my breath coming in short gasps. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But then, something pressed against the inside of the trailer door. A handprint. Too large. Too many fingers. I floored it. I just needed to get to a truck stop. Somewhere with lights. With people. Somewhere that wasn't here. Finally, a gas station appeared on the horizon. The only sign of life for miles. I pulled in fast, my tires screeching against the pavement. The parking lot was empty. I jumped out of the cab, my breath visible in the cold night air. The truck was silent. No movement. But I had to be sure. I forced myself to walk to the back of the trailer. My hands shook as I reached for the latch. I didn't want to open it, but I had to. I swung the doors open. The cargo was untouched. No damage. No signs that anything had been inside. But there, on the inside of the trailer doors, were handprints. Dozens of them. Smeared. Faded. And at the very center, a red envelope. Waiting. I stared at it, my pulse thundering. I stepped closer, my hands shaking as I picked it up. The paper felt warm. I opened it. Inside was a single note, written in small, careful handwriting. You should have stopped. I left the gas station immediately, drove straight to the next town. Didn't sleep, didn't talk to anyone. By morning, the red envelope was gone. No sign it had ever been there. But I knew what I saw, what I heard. And I know this. I don't take back roads anymore. I don't stop for people in the road. And if I ever see someone sitting in the middle of the highway again, I won't slow down. Because now, I understand. They don't want help. They want in. And if you stop, they don't let you leave. The voice crackled over the CB radio around 2:45 a.m. "Hey, driver. Looks like you've got a problem with your rear axle." I frowned. The road had been dead empty for the past hour. Not a single car, not even another trucker. Yet someone was saying they were behind me. I checked my mirrors. Nothing. Just an endless stretch of two-lane highway cutting through the darkness. I grabbed the radio. "You sure about that?" The static hissed. Then, "Yeah, I've been trailing you a while. Looks like your left tire's wobbling. Might want to pull over before it blows." I tensed. Whoever this was, they were lying. There was no one behind me. I flicked the CB back on. "What are you driving? I don't see anyone back there." Silence. Then, "I'm here." My skin crawled. The voice was wrong. Too calm. Too steady. Like it wasn't used to talking. I checked my mirrors again. The road was still empty. I tightened my grip on the wheel. This was some kind of trick. Maybe a setup. Someone trying to get me to stop in the middle of nowhere. I played along. "You out of state?" The radio crackled. Then, "You should have stopped when I told you to." A chill ran down my spine. I hit the gas. Whatever this was, I didn't want any part of it. The truck groaned as I pushed past 70 miles per hour. But the CB crackled again. And this time, I heard breathing. Right behind me. I checked the sleeper cabin in my rearview mirror. Nothing. Just the empty bunk. The radio hissed. Then, a whisper. "You can't outrun this." I yanked the CB's power cord out. Silence. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. This wasn't just a prank. Something was in my truck. Or worse, something wanted in. The first thump came from the roof of the cab. A soft, deliberate knock. I sucked in a sharp breath. The second knock was louder. Then, the third. Slow. Rhythmic. Like someone was testing the metal. My stomach dropped. I wasn't alone. I swerved, trying to shake whatever was up there. The truck lurched violently. For a second, everything went silent. I thought I had lost it. Then, a loud bang against the windshield. My heart stopped. A handprint. Pale. Too long. The fingers twitched. I didn't think. I slammed the brakes. The truck skidded, tires screeching. Something flew off the roof. I didn't look back. I just drove. The highway felt endless. The road signs made no sense. Every mile marker was wrong. Like I had been driving in a loop. My GPS flickered. Lost signal. I gritted my teeth. I needed to get to a gas station. A truck stop. Anything. Then, up ahead, a neon sign. Flickering. Sal's Gas and Food. I had never seen it before, but I didn't care. I pulled in fast, tires kicking up dust. The moment I parked, I jumped out, gasping for air. The lot was empty. No cars. No other trucks. Just me. The gas station looked abandoned. The door hung slightly open, swinging in the wind. But the lights were on. And then I saw it. On the hood of my truck. A red envelope. I froze. I hadn't seen it when I pulled in. My hands shook as I reached for it. The paper was warm, like it had just been placed there. I peeled the flap open, breath caught in my throat. Inside was a single note, written in small, careful handwriting. "Look in the sleeper." A deep, primal fear coiled in my gut. No, I wouldn't. I slammed the truck door shut. I needed to get away from here. I turned toward the gas station and saw someone inside. A figure, standing behind the counter, not moving, just watching. The lights buzzed overhead. The door creaked open wider. I took a step closer, and the figure moved. Not walked, just shifted, like it had always been there, like it had just decided to be seen. And its face was the same face I had seen in my mirror, the same face that had whispered on the radio. I ran, didn't think, didn't look back. I threw myself into the cab and locked the doors. I didn't care about the sleeper anymore. I just needed to get away. I floored it, the truck roaring back onto the highway. The gas station lights flickered once, then vanished, like it had never been there at all. Hours later, I pulled into a real truck stop. People, bright lights, safe. I sat there, shaking, trying to convince myself it was just exhaustion, just paranoia. Then I checked the passenger seat, and my blood ran cold. Another red envelope, tucked neatly between the seat and the dash. I didn't open it. I just stared. Because now, I understood. I never should have answered that voice. And next time, I won't be able to leave. The fog was too thick. I should have pulled over, but I didn't. I had been driving for nearly 10 hours straight through rural Indiana, nothing but open fields and patches of dense forest lining the narrow, two-lane road. The sky was pitch black, no streetlights, no signs of life, just my headlights cutting through the darkness. Then the fog rolled in. It didn't creep in like normal fog. It was sudden. 1 second, the road was clear. The next, I was driving through solid white. It swallowed everything. My high beams barely cut through it. The road felt narrower, like the fog was pressing in on both sides. I slowed down, gripping the wheel tighter. Something felt off. I wasn't alone. I could feel it. Then, headlights. Dim and distant at first, but growing brighter. Another truck. It was coming fast. Too fast. I flashed my high beams. No reaction. It kept coming. Straight at me. I laid on the horn. Nothing. No slowing. No swerving. Just barreling forward like I wasn't even there. 100 feet. It was about to hit me head on. And then, it vanished. I gasped, my heart pounding. There was no crash. No impact. Just empty road ahead. Like the truck had never been there at all. I checked my mirrors. Nothing. The road behind me was empty. But I felt it. A presence. Something was here. Something was watching me. A noise crackled through the CB radio. At first, it was just static. Then, breathing. Slow. Heavy. Like someone was on the other end. Listening. The air inside the cab felt thicker. Then, through the static, a voice. Did you see it? My stomach dropped. I grabbed the radio, my fingers trembling. Who is this? Silence. Then, it saw you. The voice was flat, emotionless, like it was stating a fact, like it was a warning. I swallowed hard. What the hell are you talking about? The CB crackled. Then, laughter. Low. Distorted. I shut the radio off. The fog got thicker. I could barely see past my hood. The road felt longer now. Like I wasn't making progress. Like I was driving in place. I checked my GPS. The screen flickered. Lost signal. I gritted my teeth. I needed to find a gas station. A truck stop. Anything. Then, up ahead, a neon sign. Flickering. Rest stop, food and fuel. I had never seen it before, but I didn't care. I needed to get off this road. I pulled into the lot, my tires crunching on wet pavement. The fog didn't clear. It clung to the truck stop, swirling in slow, unnatural patterns. The parking lot was empty. No other cars. No people. Just my rig. And the fog pressing against the windows like it wanted to get inside. I stepped out of the cab. The air was too cold. Too still. The truck stop looked old. Like it had been abandoned for years. But the lights were on. And the front door was slightly open. I hesitated. Then, against every instinct in my body, I went inside. The moment I stepped in, the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around. The windows were fogged over. I could barely see the parking lot outside. Something felt wrong. The shelves were stocked, but the expiration dates were years old. The air smelled wrong, like rotting wood and damp earth. Then I saw it, sitting on the front counter. A red envelope. I stepped closer, my hands shaking. The paper was too clean, like it didn't belong here. I picked it up, slowly peeling it open. Inside was a single piece of paper, and written in small, careful handwriting. Don't turn around. My breath caught in my throat. I felt it. A presence. Behind me. Tall. Still. Watching. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Then, a whisper. You let it see you. I bolted. I threw the envelope down and ran for the door. It wouldn't open. I pounded on the glass. Nothing. The fog outside was darker now. Like it wasn't fog at all. Like it was something else. The lights flickered. Then, the freezer doors at the back of the store swung open, and I saw it. A shape. Twisted. Wrong. Tall. Its limbs too long. Its face was almost human. But the eyes. Black voids. Empty. Hollow. And it was smiling. Not with its mouth, with its whole face. I slammed my shoulder into the door. The glass didn't break. I turned back, and the thing was closer. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to see, didn't want to let it in. Then, the door burst open. I fell onto the pavement, gasping for air. The fog was gone. The truck stop was gone. Just the road. Empty. Silent. Like it had never been there at all. I ran back to my truck, throwing myself inside. I turned the key. The engine roared to life. I sped out of there without looking back. Hours later, I pulled into a real truck stop. Bright lights. People. Safe. I sat there, trying to convince myself it was just exhaustion. Then I saw it. On the passenger seat. A red envelope. I didn't touch it. I didn't open it. I just sat there, heart pounding, because I already knew what it would say. You turned around. I don't usually pick up hitchhikers. Truckers have a rule: never stop for people on the side of the road. It's not just about safety. It's because sometimes they aren't people at all. But that night, I made a mistake, and I've regretted it ever since. It was just after midnight when I saw her. A woman, alone, standing at the edge of the highway. The stretch of road was empty, miles of nothing but trees and darkness. No towns, no gas stations, just endless pavement cutting through the forest. She stood near a mile marker, her silhouette barely visible in the glow of my headlights. Something about her didn't feel right. She wasn't waving me down, wasn't looking toward me at all. She was just standing there, motionless, waiting. I told myself to keep driving, but I hesitated. Maybe her car had broken down. Maybe she was in danger. I slowed the truck, rolling to a stop beside her. Up close, she looked too thin. Her clothes were light, too light for the cold. A dress, torn at the edges. No coat, no bag. She turned her head slightly, but I couldn't see her eyes beneath the shadow of her hair. I rolled down the window. You okay? Need a ride? She didn't answer right away. Then, in a flat, quiet voice, "Are you going far?" Her tone was strange, like she already knew the answer. A sharp chill ran down my spine, but I forced a nod. "Yeah, hop in." And that's when I made my mistake. She climbed into the cab without a word. Didn't ask where I was headed. Didn't even hesitate. I watched as she settled into the passenger seat. She didn't buckle up, didn't adjust her seat, just sat there, stiff, still. I pulled back onto the highway, trying to shake the uneasy feeling in my gut. The silence stretched. I cleared my throat. "So, where you headed?" Her head turned slowly toward me. "Nowhere." I gripped the wheel tighter. The air inside the cab felt heavy. I focused on the road, my stomach twisting. Something was off. The way she sat, the way she barely moved. It wasn't normal. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw her smile. Not a friendly smile. Not a relieved smile. A knowing smile. Like she had been waiting for this moment. Like she had been waiting for me. The miles stretched on. The radio crackled with faint static, but I left it off. I didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to hear anything. Then, she spoke again. "You drive this road often?" Her voice was too even, too calm. I swallowed hard. "Sometimes." She nodded slowly. "I know." My stomach dropped. She knows? I checked the mirror. The road behind us was empty. The trees outside the windows looked wrong, like they were leaning in closer. The woman hadn't moved, hadn't blinked, just sat there, staring straight ahead. And then she said, "I've ridden with you before." I nearly slammed the brakes. No, impossible. I had never seen this woman before in my life. I forced a laugh. "You must have me confused with someone else?" She turned her head slightly. "No, I remember you." Her lips curled at the edges. "You picked me up before." I felt a cold weight settle in my chest. I don't pick up hitchhikers. Not ever. A sign appeared up ahead. 20 miles to the next town. I clenched my jaw. Just get there. Drop her off. Forget about this. Then, she reached into her pocket, pulled something out, and set it on the dashboard. A red envelope. I stared at it. The paper was smooth, untouched. But I knew it was meant for me. My breath turned shallow. "What is that?" She smiled again. You'll see. The envelope just sat there, waiting. I didn't touch it, didn't dare. Then, she spoke again. You didn't remember me last time either. A cold chill crawled up my spine. The way she said it, so casual, so certain, like she had been in this seat before, like she had been in this truck before. I pressed the gas. I just needed to get to the town. 5 miles left. The lights of a gas station flickered in the distance. Almost there. I glanced at the woman. She was gone. The seat was empty, but the red envelope was still there. I slammed the brakes, skidding into the gas station lot. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the envelope. I didn't want to open it, but something forced me to. Inside, written in small, careful handwriting, "See you again next time." I checked the mirrors, checked the road. She was gone, but deep down I knew she wasn't done with me. I don't pick up hitchhikers anymore, but sometimes, when I pass that stretch of road, I see a woman standing there, waiting, and I press the gas, because now, I understand. She always finds a way back in.